Hi, Donna.
Hi, Darryl. How are you today?
I'm good. Hope you are too. Can you tell our audience what you do and where you do it, please?
Sure. I'm a clinical fitness specialist, but the background of that is I've been a nurse for about 52 years, and I have my master's in nursing, and I'm also have a personal trainer and a respiratory therapist.
So, the idea of exercise and prostate cancer, why should that even be a concern for a guy diagnosed or dealing with it?
I think, first of all, it's hormonal, and many of you are treated with, you know, hormonal treatment like the Lupron. And what happens is that takes away your testosterone, takes away your muscle mass. From muscle mass, it increases fatigue. And also it causes weight gain. And mostly the weight gain is always around the middle. So the key is if we can keep people moving, then when they finish treatment, they're in a much better physical shape. We know in general, patients do well with exercise. There are numerous research projects out that have really shown that when you exercise, either getting ready for surgery for cancer or during your treatment time or post, is that you have less loss of muscle mass. You don't get so physically weak. And I can tell you, when you get a cancer diagnosis and you don't do anything, the first muscle to go are your big thigh muscles. So then from the thigh muscles they go, then you can't get out of a chair well. Then you're twisting and turning. If the leg muscles are weak, so the rest of the body's weak. Higher incidence of hurting your lower back, or just then not doing anything. And then the weight gain goes even more. And it's also not good for, your self-efficacy. I mean, how you feel. So the better is to, and decreasing the anxiety of it. So I deal with a lot of men with different, with prostate cancer, and many of them have been following me on my Zoom for years. And I think what they have told me, that it has made a huge difference in their lifestyle. It's really changed them from being sort of sad or down, getting that diagnosis, but then getting through it in a much better way. And then afterwards, having the energy to go back to a better lifestyle, being able to go and do things they want to do. And that's my goal. My goal isn't to make you an athlete, but my goal is to make you be able to do all your activities of living all the time, that you're not debilitated.
So everyone in this audience and people who aren't in this audience, everyone in prostate cancer world has heard that movement and exercise are good for you. What's like the difference? The idea of exercise or movement, for some folks, it's a natural, they've been doing it all their lives. And most of the folks watching this are middle to third life kind of adults, 50s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But for the majority, I have no doubt it's like a foreign territory. It's like something that you've tried perhaps several times and just not carried on with it. Why is it easier to eat ice cream than it is to exercise?
Well, you have to think about this. You have to think about, it's easy because it slides down and it's not any work. If you become sedentary and all the muscles get really weak, you can't do much of anything. You have to stretch off to get off the chair. If you can say, okay, I'm going to give you a 10-minute program, 10 minutes. I want you to kind of walk in place. I want you to do some arm exercises, get flexibility. Once you start to, I show a little bit of change in someone, that's when the difference happens. So you don't make it say like, everybody says we have to do 30 minutes a day. And, we want you to do, or at least 150 minutes of movement a week. Make it so you think about it fun. Either do it with a friend or do it with music on, but do it that you want to maintain a good lifestyle. So think about this. If you become sedentary, not only are you not going to be able to move, but you also set yourself up with a lot of other comorbidities. It just happens. Being overweight isn't really the healthiest thing for our bodies. So by moving around a little bit, you start feeling better. And it's, get the arms strong enough or get the legs strong enough. But movement makes you want to feel alive and energized. And I think that's the part that you learn.
So let me ask you again, just the basic, if you don't mind. Why is it easier for folks to eat ice cream than it is to exercise?
Well, when it's pleasurable, people like it. It's easy to swallow. It's just easy. And when people think of fitness or they feel of exercise, it's work. It's work. I don't want to do it? Why do I have to do it? I think if you look at it from a perspective to keep you in a functional state, that you can go and do the things you want to do, that's the difference. So when someone comes to me and says they have trouble going up and down the stairs, then I think, well, is it that their legs are weak, that they can't do it, or their heart rate goes up too much, or they are breathless? So then you say, if I teach you how to go up the stairs using the proper breath, breathe out with each step, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. You get to the top of the steps and you're not short of breath. And that is how you start to work with someone. And then you start saying, okay, well, what part of your body is the weakest? We start showing that you can do the leg exercises. You can do chair squats, just standing up and down from a chair and doing that several times in a row. You don't have to think about exercise that you are on a team, that you're an athlete. You want to think about as being functional, as being able to do all the activities that you generally enjoy to do. So I think think about movement and think about, how to improve that movement. You don't want to be able to be scared to stretch or turn and then come back up and then have a sore back. You want to know how to do those movements. And I think that if we continue to keep the movement, then if your body feels better, you feel a little stronger, then your anxiety level goes down. So it's kind of all works around in a circle. I think that's what makes the difference. And I've been doing this for a very long time. So I feel that I see when people come to me, their first impression is like, what are you going to do for me? It's like, how are you going to make me feel better? And I'm like, laugh and say, okay, well, let's try. And one of the things that I do with a lot of people is I do isometrics. And isometrics get the muscle around your joints stronger, faster. And you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go out and go on the track at the high school. You can just do this in the privacy of your home. And you just think about doing it a little at a time. And what happens is then you start to see a slight change. And when you start to see change, you feel better about yourself. And then you don't feel and you get rid of that fatigue level. Fatigue is the most common complaint we all get as in the world of, our health professionals when people are going through cancer treatment. Fatigue is number one. So then you say you have to work with them and get the timing. Do you want to exercise in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening? Or do you want to just do it for 10 minutes twice a day? Do you want to do it for maybe 20 minutes later? And it doesn't have to be every day. But the key is to maintain flexibility, a little bit of strength will go a long, long way through treatment and after treatment.
Yeah. And your colleagues at Memorial Sloan Kettering, a major cancer center, what do they say about the work you do with their patients, and what do they tell you they see in their patients as a consequence of your work with them?
Well, I think they see a change in their emotion and physical, mental, and as well as physical. Some of them, after they finish treatment, they are back to work full time, or they are doing all the things they wanted to do because they exercised through the whole treatment process. And they have found that, they send people to me a lot. I mean, I get a lot of consults in with it because they see the change, that the patients are more positive and they're not as fatigued. So those are the two things, being positive and not being so tired. so that they can do those activities. So they say, and they know they're going to gain weight from this. So why not increase the workload of the body to maybe burn some of those calories?
Right. And gaining weight as a consequence of going through therapy. Some men actually lose a ton of weight, either because of depression or some emotional response, or because of a physical, more, problem with and a physical effect from the therapy. What do you, is exercise and movement only for people who are concerned about gaining weight?
No, it's for everyone. It's honestly for everyone, because even if you've lost weight, you're also losing muscle mass. If you lose muscle mass, then your energy level goes down, down, down. So what you want to do is, whether you're losing weight, I've gotten people that were lost weight, but got a little bit of muscle mass back, so they had energy. So the thing is, it's not just the person that gains the weight that you want them to lose weight.
So we have plenty of good reasons to exercise. We have plenty of good physical outcomes as a consequence of exercise and movement and such. And yet there are billions of people who will resist this. We can say to cancer patients, look, this may help you live longer. This may help your treatment be more effective. This will certainly help you, emotionally. And yet it's a small percentage of those folks that will carry through beyond, 2 or 3 days at most. What can, and you've provided lovely and wonderful reasons, and I'm sure hundreds or thousands of good examples of people, of real life people. But there are tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that are going to hear those, see those, and and not buy into this. What's that about?
That's the number one question. It's very hard to motivate people. If I can get them to one of my classes, I make it fun. I'm going to be honest with you. I make it fun. I have really interesting music. We do all body weight exercises. It's not like you have to get any fancy equipment. And I really educate them on the positiveness of exercise or movement. You make it so when I do a new exercise, I show the modification, and then I show the way you can make it harder. So you could start doing something. I can show you this. This would be the easiest. If you're sitting in a class, I could tell you could do a jumping jack like this, one leg out, arms up, just sitting in a chair. Then the next is you could do standing. And then sometimes you could even do it trying with a little hop. Then you could do a standard one. There's always ways of modification. And it doesn't make anybody feel like, I can't do that. You want to be inclusive, that everyone can try to do something. So I always make sure when I especially do a new exercise, is there a chair close by that you can hold on to? I don't know every person that's there. So they have the ability that maybe they don't have good balance, so they can't stand on one leg. So hold on for a while. Always give an instruction. If you give the proper instruction and know your audience, it helps with motivating people.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. I never saw a chair-based jumping jack before. Right, and it sort of dispels the notion that perhaps the semiotics of your gym equipment behind might inadvertently be conveying that exercise requires weight and machines and what else you got there? Balls
Well,
and
let me show you
a
this.
dog.
And a dog. Let me show you this one. This is the best. Okay, 2 things I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Let's see. When I start with people, the first thing you want to do is if you want to increase fiber activation of the upper body, if you put your hand out and I take my thumb and index finger,
Okay,
and
I'm going to try this.
Okay, press it. Press your thumb and index finger. Can you feel anything?
Yeah.
Release
it through here.
Right, release it. Release it. Now press again and push the shoulder down. Release it. So what I do is when I do it isometrically, I press my thumb and index finger. My arm is like this. I press. I've increased my bicep muscle. I've increased my shoulder muscles. I've increased my muscles in the back. So isometrically, you could do that just if you wanted to do both arms. Now, I have a dish towel, just an old-fashioned dish towel, nothing fancy, no fancy equipment. If you take this towel and you pull it as hard as you can, you increase the fiber activation of all the muscles of the upper body. You can do numerous exercises just putting tension on a towel. That's how you start to get people interested, because you make it user-friendly. You don't make it so like it's like, whoa, she's got those weights back there. You know, I have a mat because some people like to get on the floor and do some abs. Rollers are just to really roll your body. But the key is or sitting on the big ball. You could literally sit on the big ball. The sitting on the big ball makes you keep your posture. So you keep your posture straight. And then if you have a good posture, you're going to breathe better. And then they can just bounce up and down. And just bouncing up and down, you've mobilized a lot of upper body muscles. So the key is knowing the audience, knowing what to do, and provide the information.
Right. And for the audience to know themselves.
Right.
I mean, one of the beauties of YouTube and online stuff is we have, I mean, millions of exercise videos, millions of exercise suggestions. I mean, Malecare has a website, 30 Minutes to Live. You have your work at Sloan Kettering. I'm sure every cancer center has an analog of you to one degree or another. It's not like you have to sort of do a particular treatment. You can pick and choose what works for you, you know. And I mean, I love the isometric thing, you know. I love
it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, the one thing perhaps we can both touch on now is around motivation, is the idea that you get benefit in baby steps, you know, in tiny little increments. And if you sort of marry yourself to enjoying those little increments rather for looking for the massive weight gain, you're looking for the micro ounces, or you're looking for the feel good moment. But I mean, just like squeezing my hand just now gave me a sense of pride and accomplishment, you know. And it's not a goofy thing to say that, you know. I mean, like, I did something, I've you know, I've probably done this before, but you know, rarely with purpose, you know. And we can all do that to one degree or another. What role do, I mean, is there a thing where Googling can be toxic? I mean, we often hear that Dr. Google can churn up bad medicine ideas and bad suggestions. Are there bad suggestions for men with prostate cancer around movement and exercise?
Well, I think you have to be careful, because there's not a lot of, like, I do cancer fitness. So I understand, but when you go up and on to some of those YouTubes or just go on looking, you don't know those people, what they're doing. You don't know, they don't know anything about what you're going through. I mean, maybe on your website they do, but on the average one, Google, you have to be careful not to hurt yourself. So one of the suggestions is maybe ask somebody, you know, come and ask someone like myself and say, well, what could I do that would be safe for me? You know, what kind of exercise do you want to do? You could literally put yourself on a walking program. Everybody walks. There's nothing wrong with walking. You could walk fast, you could walk slow. You could stop and do 10 knee lifts. You could stop on a park bench and go sit up and down 5 times. There's lots of ways of doing it without making it feel like it's a structured exercise program. So that's how you want to change it. But you have to be very careful online, because they're doing their programs, they're being relatively safe, but they don't know who you are. And that's what is hard for people. They don't, these programs, and then they hurt their back, or their leg hurts, and then they get totally turned off. So that's what makes it hard. I think it was very great when I could see people one-on-one, because when I see them one-on-one, you know, I could really see what parts of their body they really need to focus on. I've had to be a little bit more global because I'm on Zoom, but because I've been doing it for over 20 years, I really understand what patients go through, how they feel, and what the treatment does to them. So I understand that. And I think that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who understands the treatment and how you feel, whether it's emotionally, physically, or mentally. You want to make sure that that person has some background of cancer fitness.
Yeah, and I also want our listeners, our viewers, to sort of understand the word no is as valuable a part of a movement and exercise program as everything. You're not, if an instruction suggests a movement that hurts or doesn't feel comfortable or you just don't want to do it, no is a perfectly good response to that. Not
Absolutely.
trying, not going for the burn unless you're into that. But, no, I don't want to do a dancing dog yoga position or something. It
Yeah.
hurts my inner thigh. You know, our bodies are one of the few things we truly have agency over. And
Mhm.
it's a shame that our audience has come together around a disease that is somewhat life-threatening.
Mhm.
And we're trying to do our best to extend our lives and live happier lives as along with that extension, and to be able to do the things we want until we do pass away. The idea of submitting to the tyranny of instruction of any sort is is absolutely anathema to the work that Malecare, offers to people, and to
Absolutely.
just common sense people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the thing is, that's why it's very hard when you don't feel well and someone wants you to do something. It's kind of like, I mean, I had somebody write me yesterday. I was doing a workshop and then she wrote me and said, I am just too tired. I can't do it. And I didn't say that's wrong. I said, when we do it the next time, if you feel better, then come. The key is you've got to understand it. And not everybody responds the same. You can give 10 people all the same medication, and some people are going to be like, great, and other people are going to be in bed. And you have to understand that. You have to understand how to work with someone so you can motivate them just enough to just be happy. I mean, we know that exercise does make a difference. We know that from the research based. I mean, there's enough papers on prostate cancer as well that they've shown that you can extend your life with exercise after treatment of prostate cancer. We know that. That's been documented. But how to motivate people to do it is the big question. And I often think, because I have been successful with what I've done, that what is the big question? And I don't have the answer. The only answer I get back from everybody that I treat is because I motivated them and had them see a slight difference in themselves so that they could go do something. They could stretch and not feel a discomfort, or they could bend over and do something and not feel short of breath. So it's kind of I think there's a huge education piece, a huge understanding, I think, but it is very positive when someone finally finds the fact that they can feel slightly better and not just be more the negative and saying, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And instead, give it a try. I would say, just give it a try. That's the most important thing I would say. So, you may not feel like it's worth it, but ultimately, if you can go for a walk and monitor that you walked 20 minutes today, maybe you walked 4 blocks, maybe you could do those 4 blocks in 15 minutes in 3 weeks, so that you know that you're building your body up a little bit. You improve the condition of your body. It's not, again, we're not making you an athlete. We're making you functional. So you can do functional movements that you did prior that are so you can continue and enjoy life.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal.
Yeah, I would even modify that and say, don't worry about doing those 4 blocks in 15 rather than 20 minutes. Just
Yeah,
get out of the house.
yeah.
I mean, and I like the phrase, just try some. I mean, obviously because of Nike, we've heard the word try a billion times, but it's a good phrase. Every day should be just try it.
Yeah.
Not like today's my 50th day of doing push-ups or just walking around the block, walking 4 blocks a day. It's that today I'm going to try this. I may be trying the same thing that I've tried 50 times prior, but it doesn't matter. Today is the day that I'm trying this and perhaps trying it again and again and again. And the idea that, exercise for many people in our audience is a lonely proposition. Not everyone lives with family or friends. There's a fear around doing things when you're isolated or when you're alone, or, the idea of going for a walk. That's scary, less for some men, less for for the mobility, and more for what's going on in your head. What are you thinking about? You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I live in New York City. I thinking about not getting crushed by a bus, and such. So I have diversions, but not everybody is fortunate enough to have life-threatening diversions like crossing traffic in Midtown Manhattan. So it's like,
But I have
what
to
do you think?
interrupt and
Go
say
ahead.
one thing that I think
Go.
that's really important
Mm,
is that you want to maintain your independence.
mm,
And if you become so debilitated, and I mean, there's so many people out there, you're a social worker, that can help you with the psychosocial aspect of all this.
mm.
So there's plenty of people out there to help. But just to maintain your independence. And that's where I start from. Let's maintain your independence so you can go. So, or tell me prior to this diagnosis, what did you like to do? What was it something that, what was it? Is it just walking? Was it seeing your grandchildren?
Mm.
Was it going for a walk? What did you like to do that was most important? And you're telling me you're coming now and saying, I can't do it. And I'm saying to you, if we do little steps at a time, you will be able to get back there. And that's what the important is think about maintaining your independence so you can do your activities of daily living yourself without having someone to come in and help you.
Yeah. So let's close out by I mean, I've been keeping a list of all the nice things you've been saying as benefits. So performance, to be able to, as you just described, to be able to do things that you used to do, that you want to do, and that you hope to do. Balance, you mentioned that once, but I think that's worth mentioning multiple times. I mean, as we get older, and I'm getting older and I'm noticing it too, you sort of lose the ability to feel like you're steady on your feet,
Well,
you
let
know?
me
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you and just do one thing.
Go.
There is not only, we talk about aging, but no one really thinks about the aging process of the body. The fact is, you could be a really active working full time, and in your 50s, you don't realize it, but in your 50s, you start losing about 1% of your muscle mass every year, even though you're an active person. 60s, same thing happens. You lose another 1% every year. So think about that. That's 20%. So now you go in and you're 70 and you get prostate cancer and you're on these medications, but you also have the aging process of the body. So that as you lose muscle mass, you strength and balance go hand in hand. The weaker you are, the less balance you have, unless you have some other issues going on. There always is other reasons for other things. But that's the other reason to remember that to go back to where you were and maintain it. So we're fighting, not only we're fighting staying alive from prostate cancer, we're staying alive because there's an aging process of the body. It just happens. We don't have a choice. Nothing, we don't look the same. Our faces don't look the same. Our hairs don't look the same. Our body, our shape changes a little bit as we age. It all happens, but we have to realize that. And that's why I think the most important is the first thing you do is the movement is getting a little flexible. So you have flexibility. You never do weight training first without being flexible. So you think about flexibility. And then you start maybe with a little balance, standing up on one foot, holding onto a chair, and
Mhm.
just maybe 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and kind of build it up. You could do it when you're brushing your teeth and holding onto the counter. balance, then flexibility. Then you might say, okay, I'm going to do those little isometrics to just increase the fiber activation of those muscles. And then you're going to start to get a little stronger. Then you're going to start walking. And so that there's not only, you have to understand that every muscle contraction in your body takes oxygen. So it's very important about your breathing pattern as well. So if you find that you get really tired, and then maybe we have to work on some breathing exercises in between so we can improve the function, breathing in oxygen, getting rid of toxins as we breathe out, and then improving that. So you want to improve everything, but then it comes down to the basic thing. You want to maintain independence.
Yeah. And you didn't touch on sleep. What are the benefits for sleep?
Well, the feeling is that if you have better movement during the day, and you then will get a better sleep at night because your muscles are a little fatigued. So I think that that's the other thing. If you're being sedentary all day and not moving, then maybe sleep is hard. So some people, or you can do some very gentle breathing exercises to sort of relax yourself and to go to sleep. But really, we have shown that movement will get your body a little more fatigued. So if it's not, and I hate using the word fatigue because there's cancer fatigue and there's just fatigue from being tired from doing a long walk. That's two different types of fatigue. And so if you use some of that energy in your body, then you might sleep better. So that's important.
Yeah. And, specific to prostate cancer, guys, getting up in the middle of the night to go urinate multiple times, perhaps, these become scary propositions, both for balance, both for just, will I fall back asleep, and also I'm now awake in the middle of the night. If I'm living alone or with someone, it doesn't matter. I'm now alone in my apartment or home. What am I going to think about now? And
well, I think sometimes then you think of maybe what music you could have your music close by that you could have that sort of relaxing yourself. Or if it's not music, make sure that you really have something close by, or the way you get out of the bed, and on the way to the bed you have things you can touch so you have balance.
Yeah.
I would also suggest when you first get up out of the bed, just stand still for 1 minute, not a minute, 5 seconds, just stand still so you feel balance on both feet, and then kind of walk. Because if you start walking and you're still half asleep, another high incidence of falling. So just get up, stand on your feet, and just be calm and just say, okay, now I'm ready, and you walk through. But make sure you have those things around, or make sure that you don't have a throw rug there so you could slip. I mean, there's lots of things that you can modify in your home as well.
Nurse Wilson, you have perhaps saved many lives just with that one suggestion of don't start walking, take a moment to just capture your balance. And that, I think, could apply during the day as well as in the night, I imagine. Nurse Wilson, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us today. Thank you for the innovation and care of your exercise and movement program, and for focusing on men with cancer. But yeah, thank you for being part of our faculty now at Malecare.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye.
Keep moving.